Jai. Vrinda.
Hare Krishna Vrinda Gopika Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhargavi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania, and happy Vyasa Puja 125th. Hare Krishna, Jai.
Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhargavi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinta Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vinta Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhargavi Mataji, Dandavat pranams to you and all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. This is Lalitangi Radha Devi Dasi. Happy Vyasa Puja, 125th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Hare Krishna Lalitangi Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Is there anyone who would like to introduce on the call?
Hare Krishna Bhargavi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karuna Devi Dasi. Wishing you all a very happy 125th Vyasa Puja day of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Indulekha Karuna Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhargavi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru Maharaj ki Jai. This is Shyamaguri Devi Dasi and happy 25th Vyasa Puja. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Hare Krishna Shyamaguri Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha. It's called Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhargavi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees on the call. This is Anita from Sharjah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Anita Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you Mataji for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna. Okay, I welcome all of you once again. Thank you everyone for joining today's Bhakti Sangha conference call. So today we are really fortunate to have His Holiness Vedavyasa Priya Swami Maharaj to enlighten us on the topic of glories of Srila Prabhupada. So before I hand over the call to Maharaj, I would like to hand over the call to Tiffany Mataji to give a brief introduction on Maharaj. Hare Krishna Mataji, you can please take over.
Hare Krishna Bhargavi Mataji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. His Holiness Vedavyasa Priya Swami Maharaj was born in an Aditya Sahasra Brahmin family in 1944. Vedavyasa Priya Swami was working as a research biochemist in Purvashwarma in East Africa in the United States. Within a week of arrival in the US, Maharaj had the association of the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Circumstances led Vedavyasa Priya Swami to give up mundane research and take full shelter of the supreme absolute truth. Since before his first initiation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada in 1977 in New York, Maharaj has served the International Society for Krishna Consciousness in various capacities, including personal secretary to the GBC president of ISKCON Queens, New York, and the director of Bharatiya Community Services in New Vrindavan. After 1987, Vedavyasa Priya Swami shifted attention to serving India following the instruction of Srila Prabhupada that every Indian trained in the West must help to serve in India. Since 1991, Maharaj has been based in Vrindavan, India, and his services have included overseeing the functioning of the ashram in Vrindavan and also the Bharatpur ashram, and wider services in regional secretary in Punjab and Haryana, and as chairman of North Indian Temples Divisional Council for the 7 years following its inception. Since 1998, Vedavyasa Priya Maharaj has been serving Srila Prabhupada and his movement as an initiating spiritual master and has been preaching far and wide throughout the world the message of Guru and Krishna. He is currently free of management duties, making a full commitment to giving spiritual guidance, preaching, and teaching to devotees in all levels of advancement in Krishna consciousness philosophy, sadhana, deity worship, and temple service. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the brief introduction. Yeah. This Maharaj.
Mataji, Maharaj will join in few minutes. So if devotees want to, they can introduce.
Sure, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Is there anyone who would like to introduce in the call?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. This is Kamali Kidasi from Baltimore. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Ram Ram, Hare
Ram,
Krishna,
Ram Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Om Jai Bhutale Swati Bhakti Bhutale Swati
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Ram Ram, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Ram Ram,
Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna
Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Ram Ram, Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Ram Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Ram Ram,
Hare Ram,
Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Ram 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 Ram, Hare Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram 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 Ram. Hare Krishna,
All glories to Srila.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for giving your valuable time and association in this Bhakti Sangha conference call to enlighten us on the topic of glories of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for please take over, Prabhuji. Maharaj, you can take over the call from now on. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Sorry for delay. We have hectic programs and I was not feeling well. The rain is there. It's completely, opposite, nature. So, the body is getting old and what can we do? Thanks for waking me up. I took a little more. All right. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshul Militanyena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jatapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavauscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Tam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanta. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. If you open Encyclopedia Britannica 1978 yearbook, where the glories of Prabhupada has been written, that has virtually amazed the literary world, that within short time Prabhupada wrote so many literatures and translations, and at such an advanced age, not only he traveled 14 times around the globe and visited all his centers that he opened during his lifetime of 11 years, 108 temples, initiated about more than 5,000 disciples all over the world, and he gave 7,000 lectures. He wrote almost the same number of, or little more, of letters of personal advice to his devotees. We do not put up a phone call and WhatsApp messages because there was none existing during his time. But he took time to call, to monitor the temples and its working, but at the same time advising on the phone essential aspect of, his very structured program. He was insisting that everyone should chant 16 rounds, follow 4 regulatory principles, and conduct their daily sadhana according to Hari Bhakti Vilas and so many authentic literature. Actually, this is what they call accomplishment. And at such an advanced age, say for the span of 11 years, if an old man can accomplish all these things, it amazes them, right? Where did he get the energy? But they don't understand the nature of the spiritual energy, because these observations are from the non-devotee angle. But what we understand in the Prabhupada's Lilamritam, the culture that he was bringing in was completely new during the time. I remember in the early 60s, I was in Baroda doing my graduate studies. And I saw an advertisement that a Swami is going to America, to preach. And it was a little astonishing, according to our culture, that no Swamis were stepping outside of India because it's a taboo. But here we see Bhaktivedanta Swami, how he persisted and how he obtained the mercy of his guru through the arrangement of Lord Krishna. He accepted it, even with hardship. Sumati Morarji is such a rich woman that she could have afforded him an airplane ticket. But somehow or other, Prabhupada was willing to go through austerity. Austerity always purifies. And Prabhupada was willing to take up austerity at such an age. Austerity does not have a time limit. Oh, when we were young, we were able to do all these things, but when we become old, we can't do. Well, that is beyond the principle of Krishna consciousness. It does not take any excuses. Austerities are always purifying, whether in a young age or old age. The Muni's children, they were taught to be austere from the very beginning. That qualifies them to get liberated at an early age. Prabhupada used to tell the story that because in Kali Yuga, nobody wants to do the austerity. He tells the story of that one spiritual master having his disciples around. He was in a sacred place outside the city, and where the main road was passing through. So different kind of people came and attracted by this sadhu who was surrounded by his disciples. The first was son of a king, and he bowed down and begged for blessings. So sadhu says, Rajputra Chiranjiva, my dear son of king, you live forever. Then comes Muniputra, a young son of an ascetic, and he blessed him, Muniputra Majiva, you die immediately. All right? At this tender age, and he's getting benediction to die immediately. That is shocking, isn't it? Then the third came a devotee. He says, Sadhu, Jivova Marova, whatever you like, either in the living state, you're going to preach, or in death, you are going to continue doing it. Mama Janmani Janmani Ishware Bhavata Bhakti Rahitu Kitve. So he gave this benediction to Sadhu, Jivova Maroma. If you desire, you keep on living, because even after your physical death, you will keep on living in preaching. That is the spiritual nature of the sadhus or the devotees. Then the fourth one came was a butcher. He said, to butcher, ma jiva ma mara iti. You neither live nor die. So seeing these four kinds of benediction, apparently sadhus do not discriminate who is who. And he is expected to give benediction, all of good fortune to everybody, regardless. But this was very meaningful, and Prabhupada explains that sadhus, disciples ask, Maharaj, please explain what is the secret behind these different kinds of benediction. He said, this Rajaputra is being growing up in a very opulent environment. He's always taught to do sense gratification. And more one does sense gratification, the death will come closer, because he doesn't have an austere life at all. So Srila Prabhupada says, see, this is the secret, and people that don't know. If the Rajputra is given benediction to live for long, long time, Chiranjiva, means he will suffer, and suffering will increase so much that he will not be able to live. So it is a curse in disguise to say, oh, you become Chiranjiva. For what? If you are not going to live a life of austerity, you're not going to get purified. And Bhogeshwarya prasaktanam taya pratachetasam vyavasayatmika viddhi samadhavana vidhiyate. Those who are engrossed in sense gratificatory activities, to them the original occupational duty of the soul, that to serve the Lord, will never occur, right? So then comes the Muniputra. He explained, Muniputra is very obedient child, in discipline of his father. And at such a young age, if he does the austerity like this, then he is not accumulating any karma. Not only that, he will be liberated so fast. So why should he live a little longer even? When he is on the path of liberation, let's expedite his liberation by giving him benediction appropriately. Then the third one was a devotee. A life of a devotee or a death of a devotee is always glorious. Prabhupada says that a devotee, whether living or dead, he will continue to preach. By his example, by his Vani. It will be forever. So whether a sadhu lives or dies, he is not going to stop his business of preaching, spreading Krishna consciousness. So it's up to him whether he has to live or die. All the devotees are living in Krishna consciousness. They are enriched with super consciousness during this Corona time. And they pass in the Dham very gloriously. So many examples. Just a day before Janmashtami day, one Russian devotee passed away in Vrindavan, and he was glorified. So whether one has contributed some service, heaps of service, doesn't matter. Devotional service will always fructify and give him better chance to continue the process of bhakti further and further. So generally a devotee preaches better after he dies. We have encountered in Prabhupada consciousness, so deep and We appreciate his participation and introducing Krishna consciousness throughout the world, starting from the Western world. It has changed the psyche of Indian diaspora. You can see hordes of people are coming. Even in Vrindavan, the local, so many young people are coming, so many young boys. They come in thousands and thousands. And we don't feel that if the crowd comes, Corona will escape and get away somewhere else. As if such a thing is happening. But it becomes a political ploy in Kerala. They say when Muslims violated the rules during Eid, they won't mention it. But in this Onam last week, the number surges, so they blame Onam, in South India. So anyway, people have different notions because their culture has been corrupted for ulterior purposes. But regardless, whatever precautions are there, they are always fruitful. So devotee is not affected because his devotional service is not going to stop. If he has to change the body and come back, the devotional service, Krishna says, Name Bhakta Pranashyati, so he will assume or resume the service from wherever he has left over in the next life. So, and the fourth one was a butcher. A butcher is existing in front of death 24 hours a day. He sacrifices so many animals. So they are all spirit souls. And they are being terminated from their life by this butcher. So he is the death personified himself. A death personified person, he is not Yamaraj. He will be punished by Yamaraj. So he cannot exist without the fear of death. He will be totally, overwhelmed by the crying and trying to protect their bodies, defend. But yet, because he has a weapon, he chops their head. Anyway, some of the strong, willed, envious persons like entities like snakes, poisonous snakes, if they chop their head and sever the body, but they can't go near that chopped head. He is so envious that he will bite him even after the head is severed. There are so many incidents, so there are so many experiments. So the thing is that forceful or enforcement of death on a living entity is very cruel, not only cruel, but it is against the law of nature. So tit for tat, so he can't live in front of others. At the same time, he cannot live in front of death. Majiva, Mamar. So he is living like a ghost. A ghost is neither living nor dead. So if you want to see a ghost, you can see in a butcher. Their demeanor is very hellish. They are always fearful of their life. So anyway, Srila Prabhupada was very occasionally, explaining this, that the importance of devotee, whether he's living or dead, he would quote Bhaktivinoda Thakur's, statement. He reasons ill who thinks that a Vaishnava die, but thou art living in sound, and keep the preaching life after life. So he thinks ill. Ill means insulting that a Vaishnava has ever died. Vaishnava life has to be honored. Now, Srila Prabhupada's 125th Avirbhav is being celebrated today. What is Avirbhav? Have you ever read the translation of Avirbhav? Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamritam says, Avirbhav means reappearance. Reappearance. Krishna Janmashtami. Krishna is reappearing every year during this day. And Srila Prabhupada is also reappearing. That is the celebration. It's not that, oh, he was born physically and we celebrate a birthday cake and happy birthday to you, Prabhupada. Are Baba, he is reappearing. Where is the birthday? For a Vaishnava, he is existing forever. That's what Rupa Goswami translate Avirbhav means. And Tirobhav means transcendence. He left from physical to spiritual existence. That is called Tiro. Tiro means to cross over from material to the spiritual level. That is called Tirobhav. It's not death anniversary. Srila Prabhupada's Avirbhav means reappearance of Srila Prabhupada, and he is still existing amongst us in the form of his Vani. By any reason, you cannot say that this was the birthday of Srila Prabhupada. For a Vaishnava, where is the birthday? Therefore, Vyasa Puja is celebrated on his Avirbhav day. So this is the higher understanding one should develop for celebrating Vaishnavas, glories. So, Srila Prabhupada's entire activity was resting on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Do you agree or not? The entire activity, a lifetime of his services, were resting on the obedience to his Guru's order. Now, is this an ordinary, Guru Seva, a physical nature? No. Even though Prabhupada was physically incapacitated, yet he endured hardships, the austerities, that purified him more to take shelter of Lord Krishna and his Guru. Could not get separated. It was so intensified union that Prabhupada said, I never felt alone. My Guru was always by my side. It means Srila Prabhupada's realization by his commitment to serve his spiritual master's words and make it manifesting is not an ordinary thing. He came without money and he created an empire within 11 years of span. You can't, start a business and reach to such a level of even material calculation of the assets of all the 108 temples that Prabhupada created. But besides the asset, every male devotee is like $1 million for him. And every female devotee is like, desired tree. And Prabhupada never despised anybody, never tried to correct harshly, but rather with sweet glance and penetrative, approach that will reach the devotee's heart, and he will feel that really he committed some mistake. That is the kind of penetration of, premanjana churita bhakti palyarchanena. When he tries to reprimand or correct certain situation, Prabhupada would deeply search out in the heart of a devotee, and he will shake his sleeping soul to wake him up. So many devotees have their memories which are divine in nature. Now, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam, Krishna says that, Evam Vettiyo Tattvataha Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mamiti. So Arjuna. So why not a pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada? Also, Janma and Karma, they are divine. And on that strength of divinity, he has accomplished everything. He is a Shakti Avesh avatar, told by Sridhar Swami, his godbrother, and accepted mainly that yes, Prabhupada did what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj wanted. It's not a physical achievement. It's a Prabhupada never estimated ISKCON in terms of penny and rupees. No. He kept each and accountability because it's Lakshmi. Srila Prabhupada honored, and he was pretty strict to utilize in service of Krishna only. One time a bill came from Vrindavan when he was in Mumbai handling his own accounts. And one bill came from Vrindavan stating that about 3,400 rupees were owed to one Mukutwala. And Prabhupada became so furious. He said, what is this? What is this? Can't we have our ladies to do all this job for the deity, stitching and making ornaments? What is the big deal? Why do I have to pay to these rascals who are always, lurching on the money of the devotees? That's not fair. I do not approve. Do whatever you want. Prabhupada became so angry. So Prabhupada had a great, grandiose idea. He wanted, Dhananjay was Prabhupada's disciple from UK, and he was the president of Vrindavan at that time. And he said to Dhananjay, you establish a deity manufacturing factory here, metal. There were no plastics, and you distribute everywhere, including a meat eater's house. Gornitai can go to Jagai and Madai's place. They are not going to be contaminated, but certainly they will make the heart change of the meat eaters. So, unfortunately, he couldn't execute this order. Because there is an anti-movement of these Marwaris. They opened up shops in Loi Bazaar, and they were minting money from the devotees by alluring them so much arts and crafts done so cheaply, and they were making money. And Prabhupada knew this is not the way. Every temple should be self-sufficient to provide the dresses, both for the deity and the devotees. They should have a department like that. So this is the way to look into, and many centers like Mayapur and even Ujjain and elsewhere also, I don't know where, and they have started doing their own dresses to the deities. We can support our own industry. Why do we have to depend upon? But when people get easy, then you can see they want to get exploited. Then let them get exploited. What can you do? And this kind of materialistic mind is affecting our spiritual approach. So, Srila Prabhupada was not stingy, but he wants us to be self-sufficient in every respect. So anyway, the time will tell, but Prabhupada's guidance and other things must be carried out without any doubt, and we'll be able to score high in performance of devotional service. Because whatever pleases to Guru and Krishna must be our duty, humble duty to carry out. And we do not have to get easy, because most of the people are coming from the west to Vrindavan. Vrindavan has become the hub of exploitations, So, when we see Prabhupada dexterity of his experience in prior to he became the follower of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, all the experiences he used in service of Krishna, and brought forward a cultural what do you call conquest, a cultural conquest, and we have to introduce this culture of simple living and high thinking, and we should look like Vaishnava. We should wear like Vaishnava. We may be coming from a Vaishnava background, but Prabhupada is giving the opportunity to us to become Vaishnava. So in this way, what is that cultural conquest? It is inside and out. The conquest means victory, cultural victory, because this Vedic culture was so successful. Than this modern Western or industrial culture. They are becoming like a robot. And they want to feed us even plastic rice. They want to do anything and everything just to make money. Corona is also an economical or economy, looking into. China had the best desire that they will provide the vaccine also, but let people suffer and we will treat them. But their program failed. And they themselves became victimized because they don't have any effective. Right? But this is how the climax of of the industrialization make people like also robots and not sensitive on the aspect of spiritual culture. So anyway, and the devotees are sincere to stick on to Srila Prabhupada's guidance and carry on such struggle against Corona time. And they have become quite successful in preaching and the wide audience through Zoom and any other apparatus. Then even though physically, if it is not possible, this using virtual technique for presenting factual principles of absolute truth, they are conveyed. We are using virtual technology for presenting factual truth. So naturally, the truth which is absolute in nature is factual and it will become victorious. So all our endeavors are as if well chalked out by Srila Prabhupada, such a mastermind, but he executed as it came. There was no great infrastructure, if you see, but the strength of the infrastructure is spiritual. The books are basis, preaching is the essence, purity is the force, and utility is the principle. And if we muster around these four principles of our enrichment of spiritual culture, Prabhupada laid before us so simply and executed the distribution of books throughout the world in local language, translated from English, not from Sanskrit directly, but English. Because Prabhupada said that my Guru Maharaj told that if I have money, print books. But printing books require writing, editing, publishing, and so many things. But the deeper you go in printing the books, Prabhupada took up the task. And therefore, when he translated, he was so much in ecstasy and reading Srimad Bhagavatam and translating verbatim. And so expertly, Prabhupada could endure such long hours in the night, sleeping only for 4 hours, and put up the pile of translated literatures of the Goswamis. And Prabhupada said, on my own, I cannot write. It's Krishna who wrote. Krishna's energy was infused and he wrote. I was just an instrument, Otherwise, on my own, I have no energy. I have no endurance. My body is weak, it's paining and everything. But he prodigiously wrote all the literature, edited himself, and then took the help of his devotees to see whether editing is correct or not. But they made changes too. And according to the perception, on the language, there were certain mistakes, and Prabhupada acknowledged that. He quotes Tadvaga Visargo Janataga Viplo Yasmin Pratishlokam Abadhavatapi Namani Anantasya Yasho Ankitanyat Shunvanti Gayanti Smaranti Sato. From Srimad Bhagavatam, it says this is another kind of literature. However, grammatically it may be imperfect. But because it is filled with the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, those who are purified souls will relish hearing uh, talking about, and remembering about. This is the activity of the sadhu. They do not mind. They do not mind the apparent grammatical mistakes. And we see with those literature, Prabhupada himself made 5,000 disciples. But then aspect and publication aspect and taking advice from other scholars and this and that. Prabhupada's idea to put up even dialectic spiritualism, that book he wrote on his commentary on all other Western philosophies compared to our Vedic philosophy. Scholars were, our own scholars were thinking that it's a slap on scholastic world. Those who are literate, we are going to put up a slap on. What it means, that it is full of incorrect statements. Now, dialectic spiritualism cannot be modified, according to the modern theories. The ancient thinking of Aristotle and those who are the beginners, Prabhupada appreciates some at some extent, but not all. And the Western philosophies were completely, off the track. They have a vague idea of spirituality. So our Father in the heaven, hallowed be thy name, please give us our daily bread. That is the aim for common man. And they have the biggest followers in the world. But what kind of following is it? Is anybody going back home, back to Godhead? So spiritualism means anti-materialism. Materially motivated translations have no importance in the life of a devotee. So in all these aspects, Srila Prabhupada was so much outstanding, and whatever Krishna spared the time for him, he didn't want to waste a moment. When Prabhupada was invited for joining the conferences from interfaith conferences, interreligious dialogues, Prabhupada said it's a waste of time. Why? Because they are all going to present their own philosophies, and they are impersonalist Mayavadis. Nobody is a devotee. So why do we devotees take part in such a group of non-devotees? It's a waste of time. So in this way, Prabhupada's guidance was very clear. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also doesn't want us to spend time after listening this Mayavadi Bhashya, because it is going to create sarvanash. Mayavadam asat shastram. So why should we dwell into talking and scratching their back? Oh, you are very good. Oh, you are very good. No. We consider you and you consider us. This is our strength. And this is the hodgepodge situation. Prabhupada was not interested. He was directly interested to invest Lord Shri Krishna in the heart of his followers. And this is what he did. So devotees sprang up from hippiedom to happydom of realization. And they are still the beacon in the life of devotee worldwide. So If you want to glorify Srila Prabhupada, glorify his devotees who are guiding us. So that will be very meaningful. So this is the spiritual perspective of the glorification of Srila Prabhupada. And especially when we celebrate our Avirbhav, it is reappearance of Srila Prabhupada. And when Prabhupada is going to reappear, we have to be ready and recommit our vows to him. Recommit. There is nothing wrong to become, again, taking the vows before him that yes, Guru Maharaj, I will follow four regulative principles more diligently and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, maybe more. So, more than 16 rounds. This is recommitment. With reappearance, everything is re. When a devotee gets second initiation, he has been asked to recommit his vows. But at every appearance day of Srila Prabhupada, it's a reappearance day because it's called Avirbhav. Avirbhav doesn't mean appearance. Rupa Goswami says because it's an eternal celebration, it's called reappearance. Just like Krishna is reappearing in one day of a day of Brahma. And Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada is also appearing, in every year. So the legacy will go on. Prabhupada took the shelter of the legacy and he was successful. So naturally, we have to follow in his footsteps and Krishna will bless us. This is the real following of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So anybody has any question or comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for the very, very beautiful class on Srila Prabhupada and glories of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much for giving your class, and it was really inspiring. Thank you, Maharaj. I would request any devotees, if they have questions or comments, they can ask now.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you so very much for honoring Srila Prabhupada from a spiritual perspective. I really, really appreciate this class today because so often, as devotees, we read the glories of all of his achievements in the material world, which of course also are deeply connected to the spiritual world. But at the same time, it's so lovely to hear from you about what Srila Prabhupada truly wanted in his heart for us as devotees and what he brought to us. We can never repay him. We can never show proper gratitude because what he did was so immense. And so it's just, there are no words for it. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for your wonderful class, Maharaj. And reminding us that this is a reappearance. This is the time for us to re-look at all our vows and make sure that we are following them and try to put in that extra effort. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. How is your health, Maharaj, now? Is it better?
I'm all right.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Very nice class. Very nice nectar. Please share. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Ananta Koti Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev. Thank you very much for today's class, Prabhuji. It's remind us that whatsoever move to serve Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, Shri Radha Gopinath, Ananta Koti Dandavat Pranam.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
I think Bhargavi Mataji has, she has connectivity issues. If there are no more questions, we would like to end the call here. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for coming.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you for waking me up.
No, please forgive us for that, Maharaj.
Right?
Yeah, really. You are not well, and still we had to have you here. Thank you so much for coming and being here. We'll offer our respectful obeisances to Maharaj. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha Ananta Koti Vaishnavindiki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada
Ki Jai.
His Holiness Vedavyasa Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much, Maharaj. Thank you for coming.
Haribo.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe. Hare Krishna.
We'll end